Wir gehen direkt in den hinteren Teil des Zirkus.
Unsere Radargeräte haben ein UFO entdeckt. Es flog sehr schnell, folgte bestimmte Routen mit intelligentem Verhalten.
Was ist denn das für ein Scheiß?
Es verschwand von unseren Radargeräten in dieser Waldzone. Wir kommen, um es zu holen.
Was ist das?
Ah! Scheiße!
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Good morrow, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman History Month, the month in which we get really damn political. We're rolling dice. We're trying this again to do historic-esque, period piece-esque fan films. So here we are, and you know, you wouldn't expect it, but bless its little heart. Its little green, neon, glow-in-the-dark green heart. Predator is a franchise that really likes to deliver historical period piece fan films. So here we are with another Predator fan film. What's this one called, Justin?
This one is called The Creature from the Big Mountain, a Predator fan film.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I kind of like this just kind of is the point that I make when we get these is there's really a desire to get a period piece Predator fan film ever since that damn scene in Predator 2, you know? It's just, God, it's so attractive to do something like that because it's just such a cool frickin' idea. And the idea that these things have been around for all of history and just, damn, I would really like to see a Predator fan film, or a Predator film proper that's set in literally any historical era. To be fair, this is the second Predator fan film we've talked about that's set in World War II. This one's set in the Eastern Theater, however. Or no, my bad, the Western Theater. That shit always fucks with my head.
Yeah.
This one's set in the Western Theater, which is cool.
Yes, it is. And I like the fact that it is done in black and white. We have like one of the older Universal logos at the beginning of the film. Although I don't know if it's era accurate. I don't know if it's 40s accurate. That looks kind of 50s accurate. Mm-hmm. And they, what's really cool, I'm going to say right now, I really did enjoy this. And, of course, the premise is essentially this, it's 1940 in, I believe, Germany, or I think it said Europe, but let's just assume it's Germany. This young woman and her father are trying to escape the Nazis, and they're being chased through the woods, and a predator is there, too. And that's essentially where we go, and where we see like the Nazi soldiers get taken out one by one, but there's also this group that comes in that knows all about it and are also hunting him back. Meanwhile, we have this girl trying to escape at the same time.
You know the funny thing you mentioned
really,
about the Universal logo? Predator is a Fox property.
Well, this is very obviously influenced by Creature of the Black Lagoon, which is a Universal property. So I guess that's pretty much what they were thinking. And oh man, yeah, you know what? I said it was kind of 50s accurate, and I go back to the title, and the creature from the big mountain really is kind of like like a Universal International title from the 50s. You know, that sounds pretty right. And they use a lot of music. Universal International during the 50s did start doing sci-fi and horror kind of on the cheap for them. They were saving money when they became Universal International. And so they used a lot of stock music, like over and over again. Like the famous Creature of the Black Lagoon music, you know, dun dun dun, I'm the creature, dun dun dun. They use that music in a shit ton of movies. Not just the creature movies. You know, I think I've heard the music in The Mole People, for instance, and a few others. And I hear it here in this one. They use some of that incidental music in the background here. And I've watched a lot of these, and I just like recognize quite a few of these pieces. It's like, oh man, it's that piece from this movie and this piece from that movie. And that was kind of a nice, really touch, as if they were making a 1950s Universal International Predator movie. And what they would have done with it. Like, yeah, in the 50s, yeah, they would have gone all in on like a Nazi movie like this, like taking out Nazis left and right. Boy, is it fun. Boy, is it really well done. And I don't know anything about the creators of this, so I don't know if they are like English speaking crew and creators, or they were from Germany, or at least hired German speaking actors. But I thought it was a really awesome choice to go accurate with the language. Now, if this was like American movie in the 50s, obviously they would have just spoken in basic foreign accents.
They would have cast British people to play the Nazis. And
yeah. And, you know, it wouldn't even be totally, like, good, like, accurate accents. As long as, like, you sound foreign, that's fine. That's good. Stupid Americans will get it. Like, oh, yeah, that's a German guy.
Yeah, my only problem with the language choice was the fact that the Jewish characters were speaking English. And I was like, I
did hear a little English.
Yeah, that was weird. Because, like, at first, when the movie starts, I'm like, okay, do I need to turn on subtitles or not? And then, like, all the text is in English for, like, the, you know, background and disclaimers and stuff. And the first words you hear anyone speak are all in English. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then when the Germans show up, I'm like, oh, well, maybe they're just saying a couple words in German or something. And then, like, significant dialogue starts to happen. I'm like, okay, let's see if there are captions for this. And luckily there were. So that was... Yeah. It worked out in the end. I just thought it was kind of funny.
I caught that too, actually. I had that same exact experience where it's like, oh shit, they're still talking in German. Let me pause it and, like, check. I guess since we're made to... root for and relate to, like, the Jewish characters in the film, they are speaking English. Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate that would have been. I mean, granted, you know, there's no backstory here, you know, for us to know, you know, their origins or something like that. So we just assume. But yeah, I'm guessing that was the reason why they chose to do it that way.
That makes sense, I guess. It was just like, it creates that weird dissonance as you're watching the film, like literally taking you out of it because you got to pause the video and stuff. But other than that, I thought something that was an interesting choice and kind of made this unique, at least in what I've seen and read with Predator, is to have, like, everybody that the Predator's hunting be just unequivocally bad. You know? Like, in the first Predator movie, Arnold and company are morally ambiguous at best. You know, they're kind of going in, they're black ops government agents or private military or something. And so that's pretty morally ambiguous, but they're definitely not Nazis. Predator 2, of course, you have like all the gang members that the Predator's killing, but it's also killing like cops. So I guess that one there, it is only killing evil people. Nah, but like there's the cops in Predator 2 are portrayed to be morally upstanding citizens, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so it's just like normally when you have the Predator, like you'll have some cannon fodder for it, so it can demonstrate how evil it is or how brutal it is and stuff. But then we usually have it like shift focus onto a protagonist character that's like totally undeserving of being the Predator's prey. And so for this to like everybody the Predator kills in this movie, in this film, deserves to die, and then the end of the film was really weird. But it has like just this one line explanation that I think actually really works, and it creates this really interesting alt timeline, which is with all the fucking like Predator ships coming down from the sky at the very end, and the line's something to the effect of, they'll not let one completely wipe out another. And so the Predators are mad that the Nazis are committing genocide because it's eliminating game, and so they're helping the Allies defeat the Nazis behind the scenes. Which is such a weird, like, that's such a fucking weird idea. And it's just, like, snuck right in there at the end, too. Which was really funny to me.
I know. Oh, my God. Makes Inglourious Bastards look like a documentary.
Right? I was like, really impressed by that. I was like, I guess that works. Because that was kind of the problem I had, or... Not the problem, that was something that was definitely in the back of my head. I'm like, it's weird to be showing the Predator only killing, like, you know, clearly evil people. Usually it's you know, pretty damn brutal. It doesn't care what your moral stance is. And then, like, to kind of add on to that, to see it help someone who's being victimized is also very, like, I don't know about all that. But then if you take, like, actual good practice hunting in invasive species, right? Like, that's just a thing. Hunters will go into a place that's got, like, invasive species or something and take out, like, large swaths of that population because it's threatening the local populations. So I don't know, it was interesting.
Yeah. And actually she has, you know, even that line that, you know, the Predator didn't save her life out of compassion. She saved it out of duty, or at least that's what, you know, she got out of that situation. So even she understood, like, it's more about killing those guys than saving me, but it's good for me. You know, I got off lucky in this situation. And it, from what I know of the Predators, it does make sense that, you know, she would be fairly safe, you know, because, like, she is being hunted herself by these other hunters, which the Predators seem to be more interested in human hunters, you know, the lesser hunters that they consider humans to be. So, yeah, to me, it probably wouldn't have made sense for her to go after, you know, someone who was more vulnerable. That, you know, the challenge is to, you know, get somebody who's that, like maybe a threat.
Yeah, it's always that hyper masculine thing of they want to take down, like, the apex is the top prey, and that, like, so that's all what's explained in the in Predator 2 for why it starts to hunt Danny Glover's characters, because, you know, he's the one taking out these other gang lords that the Predator's been hunting. So he's the true alpha predator. Is kind of the idea. You know, the other thing that, like, that fix of their controlling populations did for me is one of the things that I feel a lot of. It's such a small detail, but it's very important to me because it's such, like, a very cool, specific lore thing, is the Predators like it hot. They like really warm, climate and atmosphere. And so it's not that you can't have a predator be somewhere else. It's just that there should be a reason that they're not in like a tropical or a hot climate area. And so initially I'm like, okay, so it's in Europe in World War II. Well, that's not exactly, balmy, right? So I was hoping that they didn't just forget about that detail, and they may have, but the justification they have for why the predator's there in the first place, I thought really worked for it too. So I was like, okay, yeah, that totally works as an explanation.
Yeah, there's a reason why we've done like two World War II era Predator fan films. It makes sense to me that World War II would have got their attention if they've been observing us and hitting us every so often. I'm sure in Predator world they were like, hey, this is great. They're really going at it. It's like a fucking party down there. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, totally.
Yeah. So I really, I don't know. It just really, the fact that it's only going after the most obviously awful people in the world, Nazis, gives us a chance to kind of root for the Predator. Because, I mean, a lot of fans like to root for the Predator, but I mean, the Predators, like you said, are morally ambiguous on as far as their dealings with humans. Like, they will kill, innocent or decent people or good guys. They like in comics, they tried to kill Batman, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's kind of just fun to sit back and just root for the Predator this time. Just go for it. Let's make a fan film where the Ku Klux Klan hold a rally at Crystal Lake. Let's just go nuts. Let's do it. Let's make that film.
I will watch that fan film. With that could be just the most like brutal, gore-tastic fan film in the world, and it's got nothing else going for it, and I'll be there for that shit, man. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. Don't hold back.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. So like, there's a lot going for this lore-wise that like. It's an interesting idea. It's got some cool ideas for it. Also, just last lore thing I want to touch on before we get in more to just the film itself. This is a predatress. Yes. Female predator.
I don't know.
Yeah,
female predator. Yeah.
At first I was like, is it just like a weird costume choice or are those boobies? And then, like, when the credits come up, it's like, it said the actor or actress's name and then the predatess. And I was like, oh, cool. Female predator. I've always kind of wanted a female predator to show up in film. And so that was a cool thing to see. I was liking that. And may I just real quick, something that like it maybe as a lore thing to really unpack it and it would be really cool is maybe the male predators are the ones that just go out to be dicks and just fucking like hunt people needlessly, and the female predators are the ones that do the actual important like population control and stuff. Like they're doing the actual work, and the male predators are the ones that are just like, hey bro, fucking took out this like alpha dude.
That's awesome, bro.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
And she's like, look, we got real work to do here. I'm trying to kill these Nazis. Hold on. Let me pull this guy's skull out of his head. Okay, now I'm back to... All right, let's get back.
Nice.
Yeah, I got back to work here. But what I like is, what I think is interesting is that it's kind of not, they kind of don't even make like a big deal out of it in that way. It's just, okay, the predator that landed in this situation is a female of the species. The end. Who cares? I don't know anything about like predator lore up past the basics.
What's
of them,
in the
so I don't really.
It's in the movies, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know much more than
haven't
that.
seen the. I've only really seen the first two Predator movies and the first Predator versus Alien.
Oh, you should definitely watch
and then
Predators. Predators is great.
Okay.
That's Rodriguez.
Okay,
man.
that's. Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course I've read a couple of comics. Particularly my favorites are the like Batman versus Predators.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know too much else like outside of the basic. A lot of I think probably the appeal of Predator is, for a long time, it's pretty ambiguous about the details of their species and the rules and laws. We're not given much. It's for an action horror creature thing, it's kind of purposely vague, which I think kind of is lend to like the fandom, like trying to fill in the blanks so much. And Predator kind of came in that, I don't know, 80s monster trilogy of like Terminator and Alien and Predator. And I think out of the three, the Predator is the one that hasn't worn out its welcome. Like, I don't roll my eyes when I hear about a new Predator movie like I am of the other two.
Yeah, well, I mean, it helps that there's several factors, I think, that kind of play into that. For one, the Predator doesn't talk, which is really nice. So you don't get like it's harder to make it campy in that way. Let me put it that way. Two, its films are all more episodic, more serialized than anything else. So, like, a lot of people will complain about Predators, and it's like, oh, I mean, it's pretty good, but it's got so many references and callbacks to the first movie that it really doesn't feel like it stands on its own. I'm like, yeah, but, like, if you don't watch the first movie before you go into Predators, you're not going to notice most of that stuff. It's going to feel pretty natural. And so there's just, I don't know, they work better in that way. But to get more to the film itself, the fan film itself,
yeah.
So outside of the lore stuff, outside of the stuff it's doing franchise-wise, one of the things I really, really appreciated about it, and you kind of talked about this at the beginning, but, like, it really does feel like it's shot like an old war movie in a lot of ways. Not just the black and white color grading, but, like, it's got these like low angles. Like I'm remembering like the scene of the Nazi guy that's like sitting out in the field smoking, waiting for his men to catch the Jews. Like something about that just feels very 40s. The way they like linger on him, the pacing for it almost feels kind of dated, but in an intentional way.
Mm-hmm. And they wisely didn't go all the way with it because, if they'd gone too far, this would be a pretty dull movie. Because, like, it's good to mirror, like, the pacing and styling to a point. But if you go too far, it becomes harder to watch. And, this film still has a lot of modern sensibilities in its pacing and some of its, camera angles, and it's like there's like some overhead shots that look really cool. A lot of 50s Universal films never did that. So yeah, it knows when to use it and when not to use it, and I thought that was really good.
Yeah, me too. One negative I did have on the visuals is when they find the trophies, the skeletons, the skinned Nazis. I really didn't like that they kept the color of them for red. I thought that was a really odd choice, and that it just stood out too much in the wrong kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that like Sin City thing. I didn't like that choice here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I understand the choice. I don't think it was necessary. Because when you do something like that, you're making a specific point about the color, and And I don't know. I don't think we need to know skin dead guys is bloody. I don't. So I don't know. I guess I'm not like passionately upset about it, but yeah, it was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, that's the thing for me is it felt like really it felt distracting. It didn't feel like it fit with anything else they were doing because they never do it again after that. And while that could be like this is a really important moment, it actually doesn't feel like that much of an important moment in me to the story. Like, I think you need it, but I don't think it's like emotionally impactful. I feel like it's one of those choices that's made like, oh, this can be cool. We can make this look really cool because we're working with this digitally now. Like, I don't feel it adds anything to the scene or to the story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it just creates this incongruity in the film's visual style that felt weird. Otherwise, no, beyond that, the way this was shot and everything, I thought was pretty good. Some of the fight scenes were a little awkward. Like, you could tell the actors were pulling back, or they were necessarily needing to cut at a certain point before any kind of connection was made because the actors wouldn't feel comfortable, throwing some weak punches, basically.
Yeah, or maybe they did, and in post they were like, ugh, that looks bad. Let's just cut it that way.
Mm-hmm. That's
there's a couple of shots. There's actually a shot where the last Nazi has the girl at gunpoint, and then the Predator knocks the gun out of his hand, and it magically ends up in her hand, which I think that's the most confusing part of the movie as far as like visual storytelling, because like he's right in front of her, and the Predator knocks the gun out, and it flies in a very specific direction, and then like it ends up like in her hands. She was like right in front of him, and the gun didn't look like he was even heading that way. So I don't know if that was on purpose, or just was some awkward like shot for shot storytelling.
Yeah, like there was that one that stood out to me. The other one that really stood out was like when the Nazi that's keeping his face covered up, like he gets kicked or thrown at one point, and like you kind of have the beginning of it, and then it just like cuts and he's like on the ground, and like there's no slide, you can really tell that they just cut to him after he'd laid down and now he's like trying to get back up, right? It just doesn't feel very kinetic in that way.
Also, the buildup of the battle between the Predator and him was really good. And also, not to mention the reveal of his face, where he has this fucked up face that kind of mimics like a Predator jaw. Like his mandible, like it's all messed up, and the teeth are like kind of like broken into kind of fang shapes. Yeah, exposed like that. That's a really cool idea. And also to have his face covered up and build up to it, like kind of the original, when we built up to the original Predator's face. That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, the makeup there looked really good.
Like,
and they shot it
very
really
good.
well too, because you don't get like a really, really intense linger on it. I can, from the way they shot it, I can tell that they're like comfortable enough with it to be on screen and have it be a big moment, but smart enough about their limitations to know that they didn't want to focus on it too much, because then the seams and stuff would show, Yeah,
they did.
I thought they
didn't
shot it really smartly within their limitations.
Yeah, they didn't oversell it, which was never oversell if you can't. So, I guess my only issue is like the fight ends pretty abruptly. As far as I'm concerned, like like she pushes him down and like he's dead. So it's I don't know. You could because you could make the argument like, in the style of films back then, they wouldn't be too bloody, but we've already had lots of scenes where it's really bloody. So it's like that kind of doesn't work. You either go one way or the other. Like they could have gone like all the way and made the violence really toned down to like a 50s Hays Code style where it's all super implied.
That'd be interesting to do with a Predator film. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to do with a Predator film as a challenge. But yeah, it is. You're right. It is a little weird to see kind of, 1 foot in, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, kind of like this. And I guess it's just within their limitations because it seems like the actor with the fucked up jaw in this is an older guy. And so he's probably just not, like, great, or his background isn't in stuff with heavy stunt work, would be my guess. And so they're like, well, but we want him because he is a really good actor, and he's willing to have us put all this makeup on his face with prosthetics and stuff. So, like, let's just, shoot what he's capable of. Which is definitely understandable and certainly respectful. Again, anything with him, I didn't think it was, like... it was movie breaking or anything, but I do think it's probably where some of the worst like choreography and stuff is.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that.
Well, we're getting close to our end point, unless you had anything else you wanted to bring up before we go into ratings.
Well, sure. I don't know if we've really gotten into acting, actually. I think we've touched on it a little bit, but did you want to get into that a little bit? Yeah,
we can go through that real quick. I thought both actors that are playing the Jewish characters did a really, really good job on performance. Particularly the female lead. I thought she was really, really good. That shot where she's like in front of the waterfall and like screaming, and just before that when she's like climbing the mountain and saying, "You can do this, you can survive." I thought that was really, really good.
Correct. I thought pretty much the whole cast was really strong, to the point where it was one of those kind of like casts and performances that you kind of occasionally forget, like this is a fan film, and you think maybe this is like a short like studio Predator film or some shit like that. So I mean, they hired actors and they all like went in 100% with their performances. Both the Jewish characters were very, very strong and believable. Like I bought every second they were on the screen. We talked about the lead Nazi with the messed up mandible. I think his name was Franzer or something like that. He was really good, especially with the shit he had to act through. And all the general like performances from the whole group of Nazis. It was just really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really impressed with this. I thought it was a really good film. The whole cast really does deliver for really everything that they need to do. It was intense when it needed to be. It didn't ever feel like it was getting too comedic or anything like that. It's a nice delivery of character work here and stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. I'll go first. I'll give this 4 out of 5 Predator boobies.
And I will give this 4.5 broken jaws.
Okay, cool.
There's only a couple of like bits of like awkward like storytelling here and there, but otherwise I really enjoyed the hell out of it.
Alrighty. Well, Manos, next time on Geeky Gentleman History Month fan film reviews, we'll be talking about God of War: Rise of the Sun, a fan film by Creatix Visuals. This came out in May of this year, and so it should be an interesting little thing to talk about.
Fun!
Yay! Alright, everyone.
Fun.
Until we meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. I am the philosopher.
And I am the realist.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we'll be discussing things.